The Apothicon Sun, the beautiful blue light in the sky as the Shadow Man describes it. Something which seems to be based off the Black Sun, in the centre of Ogotha. And this is represented in books and movies such as The Journey to the Centre of the Earth, that touch on subjects such as the Hollow Earth, the Central Sun, and the underworld ecosystems and life forms. But the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because of a cipher that I went back to in Revelations. One that was solved many years ago, but never understood. It was something we decrypted, read, but made no sense when it came to anything in the Call of Duty Zombies storyline. This is the cipher I'm talking about up on screen now. October NSA report, T. They found the source on Venus, beginning extraction. If this was still an unfound cipher, if we didn't know it existed within Revelations, but we had the plain text and you showed it to any Zombies fan that understands the lore, they would not relate this to zombies because nothing in here connects to this game mode. But it must do because it's in Revelations, and that's the mystery I want to understand because this cipher is so interesting to me as someone who's incredibly interested in the zombie storyline, someone who wants to learn and understand every little detail and memorize that in my head. But when I see this, it baffles me because we're all of a sudden seeing a cipher about a report from the NSA on how they found the source of something on Venus and they're beginning to extract it. But Venus isn't a part of our zombie storyline, assuming it's talking about the planet. Funnily enough, other planets such as Mars is a big part of the zombies lore, and its moons such as Phobos and Deimos and even our moon, Earth's. But besides from this cipher, Venus has never been mentioned. So to see it being spoken about in this way, I can understand why everybody just skipped over it, because, well, we have nothing to go off. But there might be one thing. When I went back to look at all of the Revelation ciphers, there are so many of them, so many that are still unsolved, and considering the ones that we have figured out in Revelations and how interesting they are, I can't begin to imagine the amount of interesting lore hidden behind those unsolved ciphers in Rev. I think there's about 12 of them, but it's been God knows how many years now. I doubt they're ever going to get solved at this point. They're extremely difficult. I think our only chances is if some developer at Treyarch or even Jason Blundell himself comes back and gives us the answer or gives us some keys. But as far as this one goes, when I saw the words beginning extraction, the first thing that came to my mind was the situation in Nevada with Broken Arrow. If we go over to the Nuketown Zombies loading screen, this in itself was a huge mystery because we saw what looked like a drill extracting something from a crater. We have these people behind this glass watching someone in this suit who we now know as Dr. Schuster, and then it looks like there are bubbles around the drill, which made us suspect, could this be underwater? However, due to the Canary Man radios that we had in Classified, we now know this loaded screen is depicting Broken Arrow using this drill to extract element 115 from the ground. This isn't underwater, this is in Nevada near Nuketown, Groom Lake. The person operating the drill is Dr. Schuster, and like I said, he was ordered by Purnell to operate it to extract more element 115 to use in their experiments. That's simply what's going on here. But besides from Origins, this was the one time where similar wording was used. And so going back to that Revelation cipher, could it be talking about extracting element 115 from Venus? Venus was a source of 115. Now remember, some of the other ciphers we have in Revelations tell us stories from alternate endings, I guess you could call them. Because the old zombie storyline took place in a cycle, besides from what we saw happen on screen, there were tens, hundreds, thousands of other crazy things that happened that we just never got to see, that weren't canon to the story. And we also don't know the date of some of these ciphers. They could be around the time of Revelations, in the past, or in the future. I was going to say, because something like this, being able to extract an element from Venus, sounds like something that may be possible in a couple of hundred years. Not now, but well, we have a moon base in zombies, teleporters, perhaps it would be something possible now. But could element 115 be what they discovered on Venus and what they were extracting? The other big mystery is, well, who is T? Because it says October NSA report, T. Is T a person? And if so, well, the only two characters I can think of would be Takeo Misaki or Tank Dempsey. I can't think of any other person in the zombie storyline with the initial T. And the NSA, for those of you who don't know, is the National Security Agency. But to me, element 115 is the only thing that makes sense here. What else could have been found on Venus that they would have wanted to extract? Maybe the summoning key, because at the end of Revelations we saw Dr. Maxis, who was inside of the key, and Sophia plunge themselves into the Apothicon Sun. I remember a theory that perhaps when that happened, the summoning key ended up on Venus. Anything's possible, but it sounds like whatever was extracted from Venus wasn't one singular item. As the cipher says, it was a source of something, which has only ever really related to element 115. The source of element 115 in Nuketown when Broken Arrow started to extract it using the drill. The source of element 115 in Asia, Europe. But where this all links back into what I was talking about in the beginning with the Apothicon Sun is, well, in the Revelations ending, we saw the Apothicons, or the Elder Gods, sucking element 115 from it and then spitting it out into multiple dimensions to land on Earth. So does that mean the Apothicon Sun is the ultimate source of 115? And I suppose the first thing we should understand is, what even is the Apothicon Sun? The Shadow Man describes it like this.
Let yourself give in. Your spirit will be absorbed into the beautiful blue light of the Apothicon Sun.
I offered you the chance to enter the beautiful blue light, and you denied my mercy!
A beautiful blue light that the Apothicons are consumed by. Even though the Apothicons have existed since the beginning of the zombie storyline, we didn't hear about them up until Black Ops 3, where a lot of the alien-like creatures, the Keepers, and specifically the Apothicons, were based off H.P. Lovecraft's work. But if you look at the sigil you can find on the chest of the Keepers, you can see something that resembles the Black Sun logo. And this isn't the first time we've seen this. In the Shangri-La loading screen, on the ground kind of cut out in the hedges, there is the Black Sun logo as well. Because in the very beginning of the storyline, not so much now, the Illuminati, the occult, and Nazism were a huge underlying part of it. And when you look even deeper into it, you start to notice some connections. One word that you may have heard associated to COD Zombies is the Vril, or the Vrilya, but maybe you don't know what exactly they are, and well, it's actually another name for the Keepers. The Vril device is a part of the Zombies Easter egg, but the Vril themselves is actually another name for the Keepers, and they are based off a book called Vril, The Power of the Coming Race. The plot is about a young, independent traveller who visits a friend, a mining engineer. They explore a natural chasm in a mine, but when they reach the bottom, the rope breaks and the traveller's friend is killed, and he then goes on to find his way into a subterranean world which is occupied by beings who seem to resemble angels. He befriends these beings, they guide him around a city that is reminiscent of ancient Egyptian architecture, but the traveller discovers that these beings have telepathic and parapsychological abilities, such as being able to transmit information, get rid of pain, and put others to sleep. In one of the radios for Buried, you can find Intagdo Toten from Jebediah Brown during the 1800s. After his old American western town discovered element 115 on one of the mines, he went down there for a few hours, or at least he thought he did, and when he came back up, the rest of the townsfolk said he was missing for 5 days. And then later that night, when he slept, he had a vision where two angels came down from the heaven and told him to build the Pack-a-Punch machine.
The day's the 19th of April, the year of our Lord 1885. Somehow. I don't know how it's possible. Last I recall, I was headed into the mine. I swear, I was only down there for a few hours. When I come back up, townsfolk say I've been missing for 5 days. Then there was last night. When I slept, I had a vision. 2 angels came down to me from heaven. They told me I needed to be ready to prepare for what was coming. And what was coming, they would not tell me, but how to prepare. Build a machine, they said.
Jebediah Brown describes the Keepers because that was what visited him as angels. And in the book The Coming Race, the Vrilya were described by the explorer as angels, who, if you haven't figured out by now, resided in tunnels underneath the earth in a utopia called the Hollow Earth, or Ogotha. Now, Zombies doesn't exactly, and copy's the wrong word, but take everything like for like. So Ogotha in Vrilya lore works and is slightly different to Ogotha in Call of Duty Zombies. We also see in Shangri-La, the 2 explorers, Brock and Gary, are attempting to find Ogotha. They travel into the caverns, go underground, cause an eclipse and end up getting themselves trapped in a loop, but die multiple times via spike traps, etc. But going back to the Coming Races lore, when it comes to Shangri-La, well, our ancient ancestors used to worship the Vrilya as gods. Because of their highly advanced technology, to us it seemed like magic, so they were worshipped. And during that era, ancient cities were constructed, such as Shangri-La, and temples were built for them. A lot of this was lost to time, but we still see remnants of them, such as Shangri-La in-game. The temples remain. On the Shangri-La loading screen, the Black Sun logo, and then coming back to Revelations, we see the Black Sun, otherwise known as the Apothicon Sun, where I'm pretty sure the Apothicon name for it translates to Shadow Star because they have their own language. But the thing is, if the Apothicon Sun is based off the Orgothan Sun, which is located in the centre of Orgotha, why do the Apothicons claim it? Up until the point of Revelations, the Apothicons were trapped within inside of the Dark Ether. But I don't really think it is the Apothicons. I think they just crave it because it is the source of their power. And is it also the source then of Element 115? Because we see in the trailer the Apothicons sucking up the sun's energy and then spitting meteors of Element 115 at us. Is the Apothicon Sun the true source of Element 115? Which takes us all the way back to this cipher in Revelations talking about how they found the source on Venus and their beginning extraction. The source of what? Did meteors of 115 end up on Venus, just how they ended up on Earth, and just how it was extracted from Nuketown? They're also going to extract it from that planet. Even though that sounds unrealistic, remember, Shangri-La takes place on Mars, sometimes, and Tagdur Toten takes place within Mars' moon, Phobos, or is it Deimos? Just going off memory. I think it was Phobos. During the eclipse in Shangri-La, it is teleported to Mars. When everything is normal, it is sent back to Earth. And Tagdur Toten takes place within a pocket dimension on Mars' moon. So the possibility of Venus being involved in a zombie storyline all of a sudden isn't so random. But all of that's still just a theory. It really could mean anything. Perhaps Venus has no relation to the planet and is a code word for something else. And if it wasn't 115 they found on there, then what was it? And also, who is T? I doubt it's Takeo, I doubt it's Tang. Those are the only two people we've ever heard of in the zombie storyline that I can think of with that initial. So for me, this cipher still remains a mystery, which on one hand is annoying. Maybe the other unsolved ciphers in Revelations would give us more answers or would add to this, but on the other hand, it was all part of the fun of zombies. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.